Context is critical in terms of humanitarian action because although the fundamentals may remain the same in terms of a child needs to feel loved, needs to feel nurtured, how that love and nurturing is expressed is context specific. So, and even in terms of how a child defines their well-being will be very context specific vis-a-vis how that parent defines their sense of well-being is really dependent on the culture and that setting that they are in. And it's important to do this analysis, this ongoing analysis, because it may be that in the process of displacement, these factors are changing. And so this is why it's so dangerous to bring models that have been developed in certain contexts and try to apply them without the contextual analysis and consultation with the community to ensure that this is really the programmatic response that's required in a way that affirms their agency, that empowers them, where those power dynamics are recognized and where families are supported to be able to be the main agents of change in supporting the children within their households. Some of the challenges in terms of contextualizing responses lay, I think, at heart in terms of how the humanitarian architecture has been set up. It's founded on a wonderful premise that we are humans and we must support each other regardless of border, regardless of culture, regardless of language. The heart of humanitarianism is noble, but the way that we've implemented is that we have experts who come parachute in a sense, in terms of a visual. And they come and their adrenaline is running. And they're expected to produce results very quickly without many times knowing the language, without knowing the context, without knowing, for example, how this community defines who a child is. How does this community consider a child as well? These fundamental questions are never questioned. Instead, because we have results to produce, we feel like we must be engaged in this life-saving work immediately without delay. We need to ensure that children are protected in the setting. Then it's very easy to take a model off the shelf and try to apply it directly. The other challenge within child protection and humanitarian action is that unlike some of the other sectors, we are coming from multiple disciplines. So unlike the health sector, where there is a degree that may be preparing them or some sort of internship process, we're often coming from different disciplines, whether it's law, social work, community development, to just name a few, or education. And so our approaches can be quite diverse. And then it's that much easier to use a ready-made package because it provides a common framework, a common set of vocabulary, a common set of interventions that we can apply immediately. And of course, there's dangers of taking a model of case management, for example, that's been developed in the United Kingdom and try to apply that in a context where the response is not where the response could be inappropriate to the family context where people inhabit a more communal space and where they feel well when they are living within those set of relationships that have always been supporting them. And then with the emergency, of course, there's fractures that happen because maybe some people passed away or some people, when they're being displaced, are no longer there. And as we try to reconfigure those things, if we come with this foreign model of this caseworker is now ready to save you, and we may disrupt the positive coping mechanisms that may be within that culture. We may trample on the things that that people group may have used in the past to be able to address some of these protection concerns. And then we may also prevent people from fully engaging in protecting their own children by making it seem that it is something that an outsider or an outside agency needs to do with a certain level of resources, a certain level of skill sets, and then disrupt some of that. At the same time, we may fail to appreciate what are the coping mechanisms that are present in that culture. For example, relying on extended family, whether it be the sister of the mother. In another context, it may be that it's expected that grandparents come into that scenario when parents are not present. And at the same time, recognizing that there could be negative coping mechanism, that families could resort to child marriage, child labor. They could pull children out of school. They could engage in things like bonded labor because of the desperateness of the situation. And then I think the role of child protection is then to engage with the family and look at preventive measures to be able to acknowledge the parents' desire for the well-being of their family. And then how can they be supported to come up with solutions that promote the well-being of children, which is the joint common objective of all of us.
Indigenous knowledge is important because the child we are talking about comes from that indigenous community. And that child has been raised in a certain cultural setup. I give you an example on the side of child protection. There are certain communities where family tracing is very simple. If I get the name of the child, the name of the father, then it is important to know the village where this child comes from. Because the names that are given, they are given according to a certain particular clan, a certain tribe, and like that. So that one helps, you know. You will be able to do family tracing easily. Second, sometimes we bring recreational materials from our side. Some of these, they are not context specific, you know. You bring certain materials or even in games that are not relevant in the area, you see. So you need local context to be able to encourage children. What are some of the games that you play locally? And those are the games that you need to build on, you link them, you see. And of course, as this child grow, as we are protecting the child to grow rightly, the child need also to bring back the same knowledge to the community. So you are learning from the community as you also do child protection work. Finally, the community have their local mechanism for protecting children. And these are some of the things we also need to know from them. What are some, because some of the rights that we are talking, maybe to have been adopted by the UN and so on. If you go culturally and you see certain communities, like when I grew up a small child, if for instance I'm an orphan and I know a certain man, my father gave him something, and that man now is alive, he has resources, but I don't have, I can go to the court, this traditional court. If I go to the court and I say so-and-so was having certain property of my father, then that man will be called, please give what for this child. It will not be contested. Even the man will not accept to come to the court. We'll do it outside because does not want that embarrassment. Because you are viewed by the community. Today you are a child, tomorrow you will also be an adult and you will be responsible. And to avoid further conflict, it is good that it is resolved at the child level. So you realize even the rights we are talking, they also have it in their own form. Only that they have not, but when you sit with them, they will tell you this is how we treat children and this is how. So it is just a matter of having the checklist. Which rights are they doing and which rights are not doing the right way. Yeah.